Hello everyone. So today we are going to be working on multi-step inequalities. And we are going to be doing this through interval notation, which is another way of expression or expressing your answer as an inequality. Hold on. That just bothers me. Okay. As an inequality. It uses parentheses and brackets to show where our graph starts and ends. So this is the same notation that we've been using to describe our domain and range. Okay? All right. And then for our interval notation, parentheses means not included or it's an open circle. And brackets means included or closed. Okay? So, for example, as you can see, we have an inequality, but it has to be solved because these are multi-step inequalities, okay? And so, the first thing we need to do is to distribute our 4, okay? So once we distribute our 4, it's going to be 4 times x, which is going to give me 4x. And then 4 times 3 is going to give me 12 is greater than negative 24. Okay? Then you need to subtract 12 from both sides. And so 4x is greater than negative 36. Divide by 4. So x is greater than negative 9. Okay? All right, so in order to graph this, first we need to label our interval, okay? So I'm going to start with negative 11, negative 10, negative 9. We always like this number to be in the middle of our graph. All right, since it is just a less than sign, this is going to be our open circle, okay? And since x is greater than negative 9, it's going to be going to the right, okay? And for our interval notation, since we start at negative 9, but it's an open circle, we're going to have a parentheses with negative 9, comma, positive infinity, because it keeps going to the right, keeps going more and more positive, okay? All right, let's try our second example. So we will always have to solve when we're talking about multi-step inequalities. So the first thing I need to do is distribute my negative 3. So I have x minus 3x minus 6 is greater than positive 4. So I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms. So this is going to give me a negative 2x minus 6. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. For negative 2x is greater than 10, and I'm going to divide by negative 2. Now, when you divide an inequality by a negative, don't forget that it changes our sign. Okay? So it went from x being greater than to x being less than because we divided by a negative. Okay? All right. So now I am labeling, and now, since it's just a less than sign over my negative 5, it's going to be an open circle. Since negative 5 is greater than x, it's going to go to the left. Okay? All right. And since we have an arrow pointing to the left, just like our domain, it's going to start with negative infinity. And we're going to go more and more to the right, to the right, to the right. And we have that negative 5. Since it's an open circle, it's going to be parentheses. Okay? All right, let's try the next one. Start by distributing your negative 2. So 7x minus 2x plus 8 is less than or equal to negative 2. Okay? Combine your like terms. For 5x plus 8 is less than or equal to negative 2. Subtract 8 from both sides. And 5x is less than or equal to negative 10. Divide by 5. And x is less than or equal to negative 2. Remember, our sign only changes when we divide by a negative. So if this 5 had been a negative, then the sign would change. Because our 5 was not a negative, it's positive, our sign stays the same. Okay? Alrighty. So this time, or actually we'll go ahead and label our axes. Okay? So this time, because we have the less than or equal to sign, it's going to be a solid dot. Okay? And since x is less than or equal to negative 2, or negative 2 is greater than or equal to x, depending on which way you want to read it, it's going to be pointing this way because negative 2 is greater. It's the greatest thing we can get on that graph. So start at our leftmost point, and since it's an arrow, it's going to be negative infinity. And then we go to the right, to the right, to the right, and it's negative 2. And since it is a closed circle, it's going to be bracket. Okay? Alright, let's try the next one. First thing we need to do is distribute our negative 8. Whoops, sorry. That's supposed to be negative 8x. Okay. Combine your like terms. Subtract 8 from both sides. Divide by negative 9. And this time, since we're dividing by a negative, this is going to flip. Okay? Alright. Always label your axes. Okay? And since it is greater than or equal to, we're going to put a solid dot for a closed circle over 4. And since x is greater than, it's going to go to the right. Okay? And then we start from our left and keep going until we get to our first point. And since it is a solid dot, bracket, and it's over 4. And then it keeps going, and since we have an arrow to the right, it's going to go to positive infinity. Okay? And we just completed our first page. So now we're going to flip to our back page. Alright, I am going to do one more, and then I want you guys to do the rest. Okay? So I am going to do number 5, and then you guys are going to do 6 through 10. Alright. Let's see. So, number 5 is a little bit different because we have different terms on different sides. Because we have a 6x plus 1 on one side and a 9 minus 2x on the other. So we need to get all of our like terms on the same side. So I'm going to start with my x's. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides. So 6x plus 2x is going to give me 8x. Bring down your 1 and your 9. Then I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides to get 8x is less than 8. Okay? Then I'm going to divide by 8. So x is less than 1. Okay? Alright. So, make sure you label your axes. Open circle over 1 because it's just a less than. And since x is less than, or 1 is greater than, depending on how you read it. Our arrow goes to the left. And then we start at our leftmost point. Since it's an arrow, we write negative infinity, and it goes all the way to positive 1. Since 1 is an open circle, parentheses. Alright guys, you try 6 through 10, and then I want you to turn this in, okay? Alright.